Bells tolling here in Austin. Of course, it means it's high noon on a Monday, which means I am standing here with Brandon Waltons, the managing editor of Texas Scorecard. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan. Thanks for joining us on this edition of The Advance. Brandon, for whom will the bells toll today?
I don't know. First, I'll say that I think the founding fathers of Texas in their infinite wisdom decided not to have regular sessions in August. So that you wouldn't have to be outside in this hot sun, but that's okay. So there is realizing that. And two, you got, obviously today, we are now hitting the second week of this Democrat quorum break. So it was a week ago that this really started. And we've seen escalating actions, but still no quorum in the Texas House as they fight over this redistricting proposal, as well as some other conservative priorities that are on the special session agenda. And the big question this week is, will Democrats come back or will they not?
Yeah, and look, we're to note that we are in starting the second week of the quorum bust. We also need to note we have essentially a week left in the special session. The special session set to expire next Tuesday. And Governor Abbott has already started making some noise about the second special, not ready clearly to concede defeat here, but the governor making it clear that the Democrats aren't going to cow the Republicans into complacency here. They are going to keep trying, which I think is important. That's why tomorrow's agenda, Brandon, for the Texas House today, their agenda is just try to meet, and if they're here, pass those redistricting maps. But tomorrow, they've already set an agenda to include the flood control projects.
Right. This was added on this morning by the House Calendars Committee that met. Democrats weren't there, but they did set this calendar, which now adds some of this flood control, different legislation in response to the flooding, as sort of an attempt to, I think, lure Democrats back, because I think that's been a big part of the messaging, has been the fact that Democrats are abandoning not just this redistricting effort, but have been abandoning these efforts in response to, of course, the devastating flooding that we saw last month in the Hill Country. And so whether that has the effect they want, which is to bring Democrats back, we'll see. When we last left off on Friday, we were 5 short of a quorum. There were 95, I believe, present. So you need 5 more Democrats to come in order to have a quorum. And the question is, will we have that number whenever they meet this afternoon or tomorrow or Wednesday or any time this week? You don't need all 62 of the Democrats here, but you do need a few more of them to come back in order to actually get started on these issues.
Think that a number of folks are going to be watching, certainly the first couple of days this week, is going to be what the Supreme Court of Texas does now that the hot potato, 14 hot potatoes have been sent to them. The Attorney General on Friday filed against 13 individual members of the House to have their seats declared vacant. 2 days earlier last week, the governor had done the same for Jean Wu, the chairman of the Democrat caucus. Jean Wu was also included in that broader action by Paxton. We would expect, I think, to see the Supreme Court move possibly quickly on this.
Yes, given the urgency of the issue, we would expect to see something out of the Texas Supreme Court on one of or both of these parallel legal actions. A lot of people have asked, well, why is it just 13 members of the Democrat caucus that are being singled out? And according to the Attorney General, as they filed this lawsuit late last week, they say essentially they're starting with these 13 because these are 13 that have made statements, pretty public statements, saying that they have no timetable to return, which they think helps bolster their argument that they have indeed vacated these seats.
You have an interesting bit of trivium that arose over the weekend. Jimmy Blacklock, a member of the Texas Supreme Court, apparently back in 2021, writing at that time, not a member of the court at the time, but writing about quorum breaks and saying, look, this is not a protected action. This is not something that is a legitimate governing action here. And again, putting some weight towards the possibility these Democrats might not come back to an office.
Very, very, very potential there, right? Now we'll see how this actually goes, right? Because there could be potentially a timetable that's given.
Right.
Okay, well, if you don't come back in a certain amount of days, this could be continued to be litigated. But right now, if you're one of these Democrats that has left, and most of them are in Illinois, some of them we've seen pop up in California, New York, and some of these other states, you've got to be a little bit worried, at least, that you might not have an office when you return.
Yeah, look, I think that as we get to the end of this day, seeing what happens in the legislative session, I think that there's going to be a lot of people starting to ask questions to the governor, to the attorney general, to the speaker, and even to their Republican House members of, okay, what now? You've given them a week. A week has gone by. What's going to happen? I think a lot of these members probably are starting to think, look, I'm driving down to Austin. I think there's some frustration building among those Republican members who are going to be able to show their constituents they did something more than just put mileage on their trucks and got a per diem check.
Well, here's what the House itself has done. So you've got these actions from Attorney General Paxton. You've got the actions from Governor Greg Abbott. But you also have Speaker Dustin Burrows, and working in tandem on part of this with Attorney General Paxton, trying to initiate some legal maneuvers so that they can actually execute on some of these warrants and bring back Democrats from Illinois and California.
Right.
We'll see how that goes. I think it's probably a little bit more of a long shot, maybe legal strategy there, but we'll see how that goes. And also in the House, you've had them now say they're going to dock these absent Democrats' office budgets by 30%, which is the maximum amount that's allowed specifically in the rules until they return. Additionally, you have a lot of discussion about, well, okay, what more can the House do? Some members think they could be stripped of their vice chairmanship positions and their budgets for that. There's a little bit of, I talked to two different members just before we got on. Both of them had sort of divergent opinions on whether or not they would be able to do this. So there is, some debate on that. But I think you would expect to see some continued escalation if the Democrats don't come this week, if only for the fact that Burrows now, of course, has to keep this Republican majority that has stayed here, that has come here, that is spending their summer coming to the Capitol while Democrats have fled. He's going to need to keep them placated as well.
Meanwhile, over in the Texas Senate this week, you've got the Texas Senate poised to pass those congressional redistricting maps. As some folks might be aware, last week a group of Democrats went off to Massachusetts. Didn't matter a hill of beans because in the Senate you only need one Democrat to stay behind to still have a quorum. Judith Zaffirini, a member of the Texas Senate from Laredo, has made a big deal in her career that she's never missed a single legislative day, and she does not seem to be interested in blowing that record over something that I think she suspects is a foregone conclusion. So the Senate likely to pass those maps, and they've already passed a number of the other priorities on the special session agenda. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Senate reacts to the Senate Democrats who have shown up, been angry, expressed their frustration, but they've been showing up to work. You might see some party rivalries begin to rear their heads a little bit.
Absolutely. And you already see, just this morning you have the Senate State Affairs Committee working on some legislation, including the legislation cracking down on abortion-inducing drugs, which is, of course, one of the big issues that's been put on the special session agenda. They've already addressed taxpayer-funded lobbying, the Women's Privacy Act, a number of these important bills. We're seeing them move through the process there. But if they do not get done by next Tuesday, when the special session ends, if Democrats don't return, then the clock starts over. If there's a second special session called, all these issues go right back where they started, and they have to go through it all over again.
All right, so with that, we're going to close out today. Thanks for joining us on this edition of The Advance. Go to TexasScorecard.com to keep up with the latest news, Brandon's social media, mine, others on the team, and we look forward to seeing you right here next Monday on The Advance.